Hi there, my name is Kelly Hicks, and today I will be talking about the feedback loops in the female reproductive system. And as part of my assignment, I will just show you this. Alright, so to begin this video series, we'll talk about some basic female anatomy. Not pictured in this diagram is the external genitalia of the female. This is referred to as the vulva. This also includes the labia majora, labia minora, and the clitoris as well. The opening from the external genitalia to the internal genitalia is the vagina, which we can see here. The vagina is connected to the cervix, which can be referred to as the neck of the uterus, and the two of these together kind of form that canal opening from the internal to the external. So our next component is the uterus. This has a very thick, smooth muscle layer that comes in handy for childbirth. The inner lining of the uterus, also referred to as the endometrium, is important for implantation of a fertilized egg or a zygote. And then if this zygote is not implanted, then it is shed during each menstrual cycle. Also here we can see the two fallopian tubes, one on each side. And these are usually where fertilization occurs because these are attached to the ovary where the eggs are held. And then these release the egg from the ovary into the uterus. And then a little side note that the ovary is quite small. It's about the size of a walnut. So next we are going to be talking about the actual eggs in the ovary, or as we can refer to this as folliculogenesis. So this is basically the process of that ovarian follicle undergoing growth and development. And then it usually starts off, as we can see in step 1, as the premedial follicle. And so these are present in newborn females, and they have a single flat layer of support cells, and these are referred to as granulocytes. And these just basically surround the oocyte, and these stay in a resting state until they are needed, until after puberty, where a few of these premordial follicles join in to another group of immature growing follicles called primary follicles. So then in these we can see as the granulose cells divide in the follicle, they eventually become secondary follicles. And in addition to the secondary follicles, these also have theca cells, and which are the cells that work together with the granulosa cells to produce estrogen. And estrogen, it plays a major role, as we know, in the female reproductive system. So also within this growing secondary follicle, the primary oocyte is now secreting a thin acellular membrane, as well as a thick fluid called follicular fluid that starts to form between the granulose cells and collects into one large pool, or also known as the antrum. And then follicles where the antrum has become large and fully formed are then known as the tertiary follicles. And so this will bring us to where we can finally talk about the actual feedback loops in the female reproductive system. So the first is takes place in the follicular phase. And so our hypothalamus produces gonadotropin releasing hormone, or a GnRH. And this hormone signals the anterior pituitary to produce follicle stimulating hormone, or FSH, and luteinizing hormone, or LH. And then these hormones will travel through the bloodstream and bind to receptors on the granulosa and theca cells of these follicles. And so, as the name implies, follicle stimulating hormone stimulates the follicles to grow and expand in diameter. And then the release of luteinizing hormone also stimulates the granulosa and theca cells of the follicles to produce a type of estrogen, also known as estradiol. So this can lead to the first feedback loop in the female reproductive system, and it is a negative feedback loop. So a high concentration of estrogen is produced, and this stimulates the hypothalamus and the pituitary to reduce their production and secretion of GnRH, LH, and FSH. So with this big drop in FSH, we see that the large tertiary follicles start to die off because they need this FSH to kind of grow and survive. So as this is going on towards the end, typically one of these follicles will survive. And this is now referred to as the dominant follicle. And this is the follicle that is released in the next phase for ovulation. So when that dominant follicle is left, it also begins to secrete estrogen. It secretes so much estrogen that it triggers a regulatory switch in the anterior pituitary that responds by secreting a large amount of LH and FSH now to create a positive feedback loop. And then in this feedback loop, LH is a little bit more important than FSH at this point because the LH leads this dominant follicle to stimulate proteases, which is an enzyme that cleaves proteins. So it starts to break down the structural proteins in the ovarian wall on the surface of the dominant follicle. And then this wall kind of breaking down, combined with the pressure from that anterum that we talked about earlier, results in the explosion of the oocyte surrounded by the granulous cells. And then this release is basically ovulation. Another thing to mention here that the estradiol or estrogen has an effect on the uterus as well, and then it thickens the endometrium, the lining of the uterus. And so this is the last phase that we'll be talking about. It is also the last feedback loop that we will be talking about. So when the surge of luteinizing hormone happens, it also stimulates a change in the granulose and thecus cells. And this is referred to as luteinization, hence we call LH luteinizing hormone. And so this basically transforms the collapsed follicle that was basically destroyed into the corpus luteum. And so this can also be referred to as yellowish body. So instead of estrogen that's being produced, we switch over to a copious amount of progesterone being produced by those granulose and thecus cells of the corpus luteum. And so this hormone is essential in maintaining a pregnancy. So this progesterone triggers a negative feedback at the hypothalamus and the pituitary, much like we saw in the follicular phase. And so this keeps GnRH, LH, and FS secretions low, just like it did in the first phase that we talked about. So no more dominant follicles are developing at this time. So if pregnancy doesn't occur at this point within about 10 to 12 days, the corpus luteum stops secreting progesterone and is degraded into the corpus albicans. So this is basically a non-functioning cell that will disintegrate in the ovary over a period of several months. And so during this time, progesterone secretion is reduced, and so FSH and LH are once again stimulated. And the follicular phase begins again with a completely new set of follicles, one that will again eventually become that dominant follicle and undergo the ovulation phase, and then later again the luteal phase, and this continues and continues until menopause.